glad you're here.
This is the audio version of the book Peak, a resource for recovery, authored by Faye Avis. Chapter 7, Powerlessness. We begin as parents often with an infant in our arms. The child is powerless. By comparison, we are omnipotent. A child has absolutely no power to compel the parent to care for him or her. The child's entire survival is dependent upon their ability to hold the attention of the parent through the shape of their face, an evolutionary strategy that developed over millions of years. Baby faces on animals, such as puppies and kittens, have a similar power over human behavior. My brother just retired. He and his wife bought an RV and planned to travel extensively. After the death of their last dog, they decided not to get another one. That all changed when his wife saw a photo of a puppy on her smartphone. When my brother reminded her of their decision not to get another dog and all the reasons they had discussed, she responded with, "But she is so cute." Needless to say, they are now the proud, sleep-deprived owners of a golden retriever puppy. With time, the child matures and develops the capacity to act with increasing independence. The parent's power is gradually diminished. In the case of an estranged parent, the tables have totally reversed. The parent is powerless. The adult child holds all the cards. There is one key difference. There is no built-in evolutionary mechanism that makes the older adult attractive. No one looks at a photo of the typical old person and says, "I need to get me one of those." In addition, a baby comes into the world with a clean slate. A parent, on the other hand, comes with a human track record of successes and failures, and reasons can always be found for alienation. Put bluntly, the human race will survive no matter how adult children treats its aging and relatively powerless estranged parents. Estranged parents understandably resist the notion that they are powerless. After all, they are full-fledged adults emerging from what is likely the most productive years of their lives. They possess a lifetime of skills that they have developed to effectively address a range of problems. Surely there must be something they can say or do. There must be something they haven't thought of yet, or some different way of saying it that will unlock the relationship. Since it happens in novels and movies, they think, why not in my life? Estranged parents may be some of the most accomplished and powerful people in the world, but they are powerless when it comes to changing the heart and mind of the adult child who has cut off the relationship with them. There are 3 reasons for this powerlessness. The mystery of the mystery of estrangement, a lack of control, and the finite parent. Powerlessness and the mystery of estrangement. First, parents are powerless relative to the actual cause of the estrangement. At the beginning of our recovery, we may approach the suffering of our estrangement by trying to understand its causes. We hope that by doing so, we may discover the means by which we might gain some degree of control. By understanding what went wrong, we might find a way of reversing the error. Alternatively, we might discover that the causes of the estrangement have nothing to do with us, which at least might help alleviate our sense of guilt and feelings of failure. In either case, we feel that we have some degree of control over the situation by understanding what has caused it. In truth, the actual causes of estrangement are almost impossible to discern. The following true stories illustrate what I mean. A tale of 2 parents. As we listen to adult children describe their relationship with their parents, we are struck by how different they are. A 60-year-old man who has a young child was physically and emotionally abused by his alcoholic father might appear to have good reason to cut off the relationship. Instead, he pursues the relationship with his father and works to maintain it. He speaks of his father's parenting as developing an inner mental toughness that has served him well in a variety of leadership roles, ranging from the military to public service. Far from resulting in estrangement, he views how his now deceased father with admiration and gratitude. Contrast that account with this one. A single mother raises her only daughter alone. In addition to meeting her daughter's basic needs of food, shelter, clothing, and medical care, she regularly attends all school functions, invests in music lessons, and takes her on educational trips in the summers. She pays for her to attend an expensive private school. Upon graduation, her daughter goes to work at a public library in her hometown where she meets a young man who practices a rather esoteric spirituality. Included in his beliefs is the necessity of breaking contact with one's biological parents. She falls under the spell of his beliefs. She not only stops seeing her mother, she stops returning phone calls or responding to letters begging her to get in touch. Nothing the mother can do or say changes things. 30 years later, nothing has changed. Here we have two different parents, one with clear and unmistakable deficiencies, another looking like a parenting instructor at the local YMCA. The first ends up with a close relationship with his son. The second goes through years of agonizing estrangement from her daughter. She consults her pastor. The pastor talks to the daughter. Nothing changes. Parents of every type of virtue and deficit. Between these two poles are parents possessed of every virtue and deficit, the soccer coaches and the addicted, the celebrity musicians and the poker players, the golden anniversary celebrants and the divorced, the cheaters and the betrayed, the PTA presidents and the military moms on assignment, the fathers who cared for 3 generations of their heirs and those who took off before their children were born. If you were to place all these different parents in a room and guess which ones were estranged from their adult children, you would probably be wrong 25% of the time. This is the mystery of estrangement. Parents who you might expect would be candidates for estrangement have regular and significant contact with their children. Parents who have conformed as much as humanly possible to a parenting ideal haven't seen their adult children for years. To deepen the mystery, they often don't know why. When estranged parents are asked if they know why their adult child has cut off the relationship with them, 60% say they do not know the reason. The mystery is further complicated by the fact that of 3 adult children all raised the same way, one may be estranged and the other 2 have a close relationship with both parents. Adult children have issues in their lives that they trace back to us as parents, which may or may not be our responsibility. In his book, The Soul's Code, James Hillman tells the story of twins separated from birth, both of whom grow to be obsessive-compulsive nearly to the point of pathology. When the first was asked why, he blamed it on his mother, who was also extremely compulsive, demanding that everything be in its place. When the second was asked why, he also blamed it on his mother, whom he described as a slob. He saw his compulsive behavior as a reaction against her. The problems in our adult children's lives may have little to do with us directly, and may be more a matter of their genetic makeup than how we raise them. Readers may wonder why I have not spent more time in this book listing all the causes for estrangement and possible ways of dealing with each of them. There are some books and resources that take that approach. I believe these can be useful for helping estranged parents feel more understood in their particular situation. On the other hand, I am not convinced that these are helpful in establishing a course of action. Pick a number between 1 and 100. There are that many potential reasons for estrangement. They range from relatively benign issues like just grew apart or personality differences to actual criminal behavior like child abuse. In all but the most extreme and toxic parental behaviors, we will find children who embrace their parents and children who reject them. The inability to establish a cause for parental estrangement is part of the powerlessness we have to accept. This enables us to stop hunting for the ultimate cause of the estrangement, which can become a distraction from what we really need to be doing, discovering what changes we need to be making in order to live a vital and purposeful life. Powerlessness from lack of control. Understanding that the causes of estrangement are elusive is important, but the most significant source of our powerlessness is that we cannot control another human being's behavior, particularly when it is deeply entrenched. A number of years ago, my therapist coach had me stand beside her and lean into her. "Lean harder," she said. I pushed. She pushed back to keep her balance. The lesson: when you push against resistance, you create more of it. Pleading, cajoling, imploring, begging, criticizing, coaxing, flattering, berating, punishing, buying, and arguing are all attempts at controlling an adult child to return to a relationship. They don't work. They simply create more resistance. Groups like Al-Anon have been pointing out for decades that families trying to control the behavior of a loved one who is addicted simply begin to take on characteristics of the addicted. Similarly, parents who try to control the behavior of an estranged adult child begin to exhibit characteristics that lead to or aggravate estrangement. This begins to change when estranged parents begin to take responsibility for their own lives. It is important here to distinguish between taking responsibility for your own life and blaming yourself for the estrangement. Simply blaming yourself for the estrangement is unhelpful and may even be re-traumatizing. Taking responsibility for your own life means that you are determined to recover and thrive regardless what your adult child does. You are powerless with regard to them, but you are not powerless when it comes to your own recovery. Powerlessness and the finite parent. The final aspect of powerlessness is your own limited resources. Parents cannot provide an infinite supply of financial, physical, or emotional resources to meet the bottomless needs of anyone, including their adult children. This sounds patently obvious in principle, but here is what it means in practice. Parents have a right to plan for their own reasonable financial security that will sustain them until their deaths. Divorced parents have a right to do the same. Parents should not be expected to deplete their financial reserves to meet the needs of their adult children, particularly if there is no assurance how those reserves will be replenished. Parents have a right to make decisions about their activities and physical environment that contribute to a lifestyle that is vital and sustainable. Parents should not be expected to live in an environment or engage in activities that put them at significant risk for debilitating injuries or medical problems. Parents have a right to make decisions for their lives that enhance their emotional well-being. Emotionally, parents should have a reasonable expectation that their children will begin to move into a relationship of mutuality with their adult children. This means that the normal emotional needs of parents will be acknowledged, including the need for understanding the feelings generated by everyday living and the aging process in general, the need for forgiveness of flaws and failures, the need for acknowledgement of contributions to their children's lives. Sometimes the expectations adult children make of parents exceed their capacity to meet them. When that happens, parents become depleted. There is not enough money to meet their adult children's expectations and secure their future. They may end up having to choose between eating and buying medication. Parents may be expected to take on responsibilities that are physically too much for them, or to live in geographic locations that are physically or emotionally detrimental. Adult children may expect that their parents continue to function as inexhaustible supplies of emotional care with infinite reservoirs of patience, understanding, and compassion, while withholding patience, understanding, and compassion from their parents. In addition to the often catastrophic financial, physical, and medical impacts of this depletion are the devastating emotional consequences: loss of self-esteem, fear of self-expression, and the resultant drag on creativity, chronic guilt feelings, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. While an estranged parent may feel that they have more to give and should be able to give in order to restore the relationship with their adult child, they simply can't without doing significant damage to themselves. It is like driving a car without ever looking at your gas gauge. When you are out of gas, everything stops. Running on empty is simply another way of saying that you are powerless. Estranged parents can only recover if they face their powerlessness. They may never understand the real, underlying causes of the estrangement, which are often multiple and complex. Even if those causes became known through some rare ability to discern them at their root, parents can't resolve those issues on their own. No one has the ability to change another person. Estranged parents often envision some heroic effort on their part will save the relationship. The sad but important truth is that an estranged parent can exhaust their financial, physical, and emotional resources and still not achieve the relationship they long for. Here is the potential contradiction in what I am saying. You can't change your estranged children. I can't change you, the reader, either. All that I have written in this chapter can support your decision to accept your powerlessness, but it will never convince you that you need to. In my experience, estranged parents have to go through a period of failed bargaining to get to that point. In fact, the purpose of the bargaining phase is to bring you to accept your own powerlessness. In the meantime, you may face another struggle, the sense of unfairness, estrangement, and unfairness. It is typical for estranged parents to look at their equally flawed, non-estranged counterparts and feel a deep sense of unfairness. This unfairness can spill over into jealousy, resentment, anger, and self-pity. But the greatest problem is this: a focus on unfairness keeps us stuck and unable to progress in our recovery. An attitude of unfairness can drive out all the energy required for the positive steps we will need to take to begin to thrive. Even after we initially let go of our attitude of unfairness, it can recur in our recovery process, especially at the stage of doing our fearless relational audit or making amends. We may harbor a deep-seated belief that our owning up to our mistakes should be matched by forgiveness from our adult children or even a similar confession on their part. When this does not happen, we succumb again to an attitude of unfairness. Recovery requires that our attitude of unfairness gradually give way to acceptance. Even after we acknowledge our failures in the estranged relationship, we still may not understand all the reasons for it. We have to shift our thinking from, why did this happen to me, to, how can I grow through this experience to become a better person? The psychologist Carl Jung wrote, "What we resist persists." If we focus on the unfairness of our estrangement and fight against it, we will begin to see unfairness in every aspect of our lives. When we begin to accept estrangement for what it is, a mystery that we can only partially explain, a choice by adult children who we cannot change, a problem that can totally deplete us and leave the situation no better, only then can we turn our attention to our own recovery. Questions for reflection and discussion. What makes it difficult for you as an estranged parent to accept your own powerlessness? What do you think is the difference between powerlessness and hopelessness? What difficult emotions are associated with powerlessness, such as fear, weakness, sadness, failure, or anger? What positive emotions are associated with powerlessness, such as relief, freedom, trust, or resolution? Where are you on this emotional scale with regard to powerlessness? The scale goes from 1 to 10. At 1, the category is negative and scary. And at 10, it's characterized as positive and hopeful. Last question. If you are using this book in a group discussion, what did you gain from hearing others speak or from speaking? This is the end of Chapter 7. Thank you for spending time with us again. If you would like to share this with someone else who may benefit from it, please do. And also, if you would like to help others to find this, please like our page, like this video. Feel free to share it. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel, which will spread the word a little bit further. And there is a notification bell also at the in the area where you would hit subscribe. And if you mark the notification bell, you will get notified whenever a new video is uploaded. Also, if you would like to leave comments on this chapter or questions that you may have after hearing this chapter, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and we will do our best to answer the questions as they pop up. Thank you again.